mentioning the setbacks and the height is an issue for him.
Okay.
But
So that would be something that wasn't allowed. Okay, I'm just thinking if we're
Right.
restricting 35 different types of whatever, why are we not just something else? But that makes sense.
right. I'm happy to go through the list. Whenever you're ready, I can go through that.
Sarah has the.
Okay.
Office is not allowed in neighborhood commercial, but it is allowed in community commercial,
And gas stations are allowed in community commercial, correct?
right? No, sorry, let me go back to that.
I think you said it was. So we would have to, in the agreement, we'd have to say no car wash, no gas station. Okay. If we did community commercial.
Would you be okay with community commercial?
I'd be okay with community commercial without gas station.
So it's allowed in community commercial, so the gas station.
But offices are allowed in the other types of uses that Bill was indicating?
In community
And
commercial.
community commercial setbacks, I would be okay with, because they're a little bit
They're a little bit more.
Bill,
more.
can I ask a question? And I apologize, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you thinking like a Chili's kind of a restaurant where it's a restaurant, but then half of it has bar-type seating? Or are you thinking more of like a true sports bar where it's 21 and older only?
If that were a concern, I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about a sports bar. A Chili's, a sit-down restaurant, we would like to have.
Well, if you serve alcohol at a restaurant, that's not a.
Okay, so again, but you were more specifically thinking of 21 and older type of establishment.
21 and older establishments and gas stations, and the setbacks.
Kevin, oh, good.
See, it's just, it's, and this was what the discussion is for, so I'm not against the sports bar necessarily either, right? Because I feel like, I mean, we already have 2 approved. I think 2 is probably not enough for a city our size eventually. But I'm with the gas station, that sort of thing, so this is hard where, what do we restrict and what do we don't?
Well, they can
That's
still
what's
have a
hard.
sports bar in the whole around the grocery store, because that's already regional commercial. So all of those pads that are in the first half
Right.
can still have a sports bar. So the red, right there, the red. And
Oh,
then
just
I'm
in
saying
the new, are you talking about the new area
area.
right now? Oh, got it. That makes more sense.
They have a
Yes.
right to that all around the.
But the new area, okay, agree with that. Yes. Okay, sorry.
Kevin,
Kevin.
Kevin, did you want to go through that list?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. And if you remember, we changed the definition of bar to require that a full menu of food options are available
Yeah.
at all times. And then we still have, I think, tavern in there. So what you're thinking of as like a saloon is probably the tavern. But the sports bar, that is something that in the Stevenette development is not allowed, but let me go back to that. I was checking the code there. All right, for this other project, these are the lists: alcoholic beverage, state liquor store, animal hospital, automobile rental and leasing agency, automobile repair minor, automobile sales, automobile, boat, ATV, motorcycle, etc. Bar, building material sales without outdoor storage, car wash full service, car wash self-service, commercial recreation, commuter light rail station, convenience store, fast food combination, dry cleaners, dwelling above commercial, fitness center, 5,000 square foot or less, fitness center, 5,001 square foot or larger, funeral home, grocery store, hospital, hotels, kennel, commercial, laundromat, non-depository institutions, recreation center, recreation rentals, refueling station public, refueling station private, long-term and short-term rentals, big box retail, theater, and transit-oriented development.
And that is what we zoned regional commercial or community commercial?
That, for the Stevenette development, it was, you were going from, and correct me if I'm wrong, planners, you're going from community commercial to regional commercial, correct? Or was it neighborhood commercial, regional?
Business park.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was business park. You were going from business park to regional commercial.
Okay,
And the
so
concern,
we were zoning to regional commercial, that's
So
what,
it's the same
Right.
thing. We went to regional commercial. He just listed the one,
yep.
and that one I would be okay with.
and
so-
you had the, again, like the single family lots right next door to Stevenette. So that's why I thought of that, but I was wrong in the sense that it wasn't going from neighborhood commercial to regional, but still it was going to regional.
Well, let me ask this question real quick, only because there is so much open land here. Do we have any place that we can build, like a place where we can sell recreation type vehicles and stuff like that? Like what kind of zone can we do that in if we're restricting it in regional commercial?
We have it in
Does that
regional.
make sense? We have it in regional commercial, but we're,
We're restricting it here.
right. So, but do we have other places? I mean, we do have other regional commercial areas, but we're trying to restrict that in this one if it's regional commercial.
Just this orange section.
But they can still build it in the red section if they want
They
to.
could.
They
build-
could.
But like a car dealership.
Yeah.
I think the original intent, and it's been a while, correct me if I'm wrong, Councilman McComber, was like some of the more intensive uses or the things were loud noises or things like that, which, you know, the residents, some of them are concerned with that. And so I think that was the intent of what we did back
And the
then.
whole like stacking, external stacking of like lumber and.
And fence posts and all
yeah,
that stuff, right.
Without it being covered or closed. So the thing is, this is being narrow, car dealership wouldn't go in here anyway, but, because they wouldn't have the parking for it.
Be able to do that. It's not big enough,
But
right?
they could do that in the central part of the city, the north end of the city off on the east side of Redwood Road, there's spots.
They can do
This is
that.
your answer your
Yes,
question.
yeah.
So since I'm currently chairing this, since Councilmember Mayor Miller asked to be excused, I'd prefer not to be the one to make the motion if we do one here. So I don't get lost in my notes here. But what I'm hearing is we would be okay with regional commercial with the limitations that our city attorney just read, but also having a consistent setback as community commercial,
Yes.
along with removing options for residential if the grocery store doesn't come through, is kind of what the notes I've had from what everyone's talked about.
Well, didn't Chris, you had a concern if the grocery store doesn't come, then they don't get this.
Yeah, and I think Bill missed that conversation, so you may want to repeat that.
Yeah, so my question was, can we condition the rezone on the property that's being asked to be rezoned on the commitment of the grocery store? That's a performance rezone.
So if the grocery store doesn't come, then the rezone would revert back.
Reverts back.
Is that even possible, Kevin? I've never done it.
I think you can restrict, or you can impose a condition that one of the uses be grocery store.
I mean, we can't
Wherever that
condition
configuration
future
is.
use. It's RC, right?
Yeah, once
Grocery store
they,
can come
once the
in, they could
grocery
leave in
store
10
comes in and they leave
Yeah.
it, and I'm not sure you could do that. I don't think you.
No, I don't think, no, we can't.
No, you wouldn't be able to then close all the other stores.
But I think the developer would need to agree to that.
Can I don't ask the developer as well. That was a lot of restrictions. Is that, I mean, will you just answer that for us?
It was a lot of restrictions. I tried to listen to all of them, and there were two that I heard. One was fitness centers under 5,000 square feet. There's a lot of 2,000 to 3,000 square foot fitness centers that are yoga, Pilates, hot works, personal training.
I'm okay with a small one.
What if we table this and work with him over the next 2 weeks and bring it back in 2 weeks and work on that list?
I would love that. I feel like I don't want to be rushed in this.
Because I don't want to go over a list in the meeting
And
and
then
say,
be like,
that
yeah,
worked.
that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Does that work
If
for you?
that, yeah, was that,
That works great, and I would love to hear some feedback on setbacks and exactly which setbacks we're concerned with, because there's internal lot setbacks, there's front lot, rear if it's adjacent to
Redwood Road.
residential.
Maybe Redwood Road and Ring Road, setting those back so that it doesn't feel like the building is hovering over the road. It makes it feel more like a neighborhood. A good example, go drive Harvest Hills Boulevard. When you're going into that, there's a commercial there. It does not feel, because you've got a nice berm, you've got all that landscaping, and then the commercial is further away. And then there's also some bad examples as well. So, but that I think is probably one of the better examples, because that was back when they had the bigger setbacks than we even require now anywhere really in anything. But that's where I'm getting at, is just making sure that it feels good. Like Olive Garden is set back, it feels nice. Chick-fil-A
That is
feels
right
good. Valvoline, it's like literally sitting on Redwood Road, and it's just horrible.
It's a couple feet from the sidewalk, I
It's
think,
literally
so.
it's this far from the
is, yeah.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
And so now, I mean, just don't even know how it happened, but.
I've heard they have a national need to be on the road because they have people that, their business relies on them sitting out saying we have open bays. So I don't know that anyone else really needs to be on the road.
It just,
I-
the setback is, the community setback is what I'm looking for.
So,
I-
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if we can, I would love to do what Chris had said and table it, but this is,
Well, it's all of us.
well, yeah, but if you want, yeah.
No, I think that would be better. It sounds like you're amenable to that over the next 2 weeks, working through that and coming back. Maybe staff, you could help put together a motion that might address all that. And it sounds like on the setbacks, community commercial for the road facing sides, the external, just using the regional commercial setback. Internal, sorry.
Regionally, internally.
So Councilmember Wilden, to kind of just
Mayor
clarify.
Pro Temp right
Ma-
now.
Mayor Pro Temp. Apology, minutes.
Thank you.
So the direction that we're getting is that you would make a motion tonight to table this until the next meeting. We would then work with the applicant to come up with those restrictions, including that in a development agreement, so that next week or next meeting when they come, the development agreement kind of outlines all of those stipulations.
Yeah, and is there people who want to do that from the council? I mean, it sounds like you two are a little more
You got me.
passionate about it, so,
Audrey's gonna represent
okay.
for me.
Fantastic.
And
So if you can make
plans
sure.
I'm sure whatever, I'm okay, so,
Which
if you
two?
have any questions, Audrey, for us, you
I
can just
can.
call us.
Audrey and Chris, I guess.
Well, we'll do Audrey.
Okay.
It just, you can work with Councilman
Yeah.
Barton.
Okay. I think that's it. Then
I
I
just
think
think
what
that
you're
was too
looking.
many restrictions to
It's
decide
legislating from the
tonight.
bench.
I will say, I do think that this will be a great addition to the community. Like, you probably were late because of traffic on Redwood Road, honestly. Like, I drive from downtown to Saratoga Springs on Tuesday nights when we have a council meeting. I leave 2 hours in advance, and I'm like sweating bullets because I don't know what it is with Tuesday. Clearly, not everyone's rushing to get to council meeting, but the point is, this will help with traffic across the city. Because you're gonna see less, people on the north side of Saratoga aren't gonna drive out to Jacobs Ranch to go to a little grocery
I
store
think
and
it's-
vice versa. And the residents are always asking, hey, how do we cut down trips? How do we improve traffic? And you're not gonna get a pristine, like, unless we get drones dropping groceries off at everyone's house. This is a really good solution for the community with some tweaks and stuff like that. Go ahead.
Could I clarify, are we talking restrictions on community commercial or regional?
Regional commercial.
Regional
No, just the
commercial?
orange part, because you already have your regional
Yeah.
zone on the red.
Right.
You can do anything that's in the region. The orange part, we are gonna give you the regional commercial zone with restrictions.
Okay.
Is what she's gonna
Okay.
have you work.
Okay,
And the setback, so we're gonna sort of do it through the development agreement to get the setbacks and some of the restrictions.
okay, setbacks and restrictions.
And I heard
uses.
grocery store,
Contingent on, yeah.
bars, or not grocery stores, gas stations, bars, and what was the other?
Well, and I would say that,
Well, he has
that-
his list.
yeah,
Brushes would be precluded already with a 2,000, but
When this list was when we did develop this list, we had not changed the bar definition yet.
Fix that.
So I don't know if you're okay with the sports bars, but not the
They can do that in the red
bars.
zone. You can talk to them, but I'm okay because there's like plenty of spots in the red.
I also feel like that area is a lot closer to residential than this area. Like, don't we have homes right up against, over on Sergeant Court?
there,
No,
The
Oh, no, no, no.
Sergeant
Yeah, yeah,
Court.
yeah.
one,
Right.
yes, was right,
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
that's what I was talking
Sergeant
about.
Court had
Yes,
residential.
literally right there,
This one,
right?
you have homes.
That's why I'm thinking the restrictions that
So here you
maybe,
have homes right across from the golf course
Right.
and then right around the church.
but not like they have them at Sergeant Court, right? Like it's,
Right.
yeah, okay. That's,
will someone make a motion?
Yeah, I move to continue the rezone general plan amendment for Jacobs Ranch Marketplace to another meeting on June 18th, correct? Okay. With direction to the applicant and staff on information or changes needed to render decision as follows, that Councilman Barton, with input from the other council members, will work with the developer and staff to come up with restrictions on uses and setbacks in the RC zone.
I second it.
Would you accept an amendment not to have a specific date? Because if the developer wants some additional time, if you have to look at setbacks, you might say, I need another week.
Yeah,
It'll take us, we can do it real
we're
quick.
flexible. Yeah, amended first then.
Second.
Councilman Wadman? Barton?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Wilden? Aye. Motion passes. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to helping you get in here. I really do think it'll be great for the
We just have to do it right.
Yeah.
So appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all.
And I believe last item, Mayor and Council, or Mayor Pro Tem and Council, is the updates to the engineering standards. Jeremy, you've got that one? Jeremy? Yes.
So this is a big overhaul. A lot of it's just things and formatting and things. It's about 3 or 4 years of work, working with the engineering department and the inspectors and everyone to try to, you know, continually improve it just the same way we do with code changes. So I'll go over a few of the big ones. I'm not gonna go over every little nuance, but.
If you could read all 600 pages, that would.
This packet, I
was
think,
that?
broke a record.
Between the engineering updates and the study for the school district, yeah, this was a record breaker.
No, I mean, seriously, this packet was enormous.
So one of the big changes at your direction, in response to the legislature is the local road increases 3 feet with the extra pavement. So we are now matching the legislature's requirement that the local roads don't exceed 62 feet. So that, basically adding 3 feet of asphalt to our local road section. We are adding conduit, the requirement to put conduit in all roads, not just collector and arterials, so that we can better facilitate future uses.
Is that legislatively mandated or is that something?
No, that's a local discretionary decision.
Okay.
And that's,
No, the conduit.
Conduit in all roads.
Because I think we should be doing it.
right, and that's to make sure that we have, instead, I mean, for example, we had a request for fiber to come in, but they wanted to cut up all of our roadways, which would be deteriorating the remaining service life of our roads. Whereas right now, we can add this to the development standards and then have
It's just-
conduit that we can then turn around and sell or lease to entities that come into the community.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a time
But we didn't
machine
do it 20 years ago.
and go back 10 years and start at the beginning, we could have, you know,
Well, and the good news is
Better
we're
coverage.
40% built out now. We still have 60% of the community that we can we can make sure that this is a piece of it moving forward.
Mark, is there a way we can have a standard if the road is ever, when it's time to resurface, like, and actually not just the gravel and the oil, but when we actually are doing a resurfacing, that we come in and do conduit?
well, the conduits are actually going in behind the curb. So the proposed conduit location actually is in the,
The strip, the mowing strip.
right, not in the road. So.
All right. But he was saying they were wanting to cut into the roads. That's
Yeah, no,
Well, Google Fiber does not want to, you know, they came to us, they only want to go on the asphalt. They don't want to deal with the
Landscape.
hardships or the other utilities in the PUEs.
Okay.
So,
So I don't know, maybe an idea that we can have that for the future.
I mean, they would have if we had the existing conduit, but they didn't want to be the ones to install the conduit. We added halfway the road to the definitions. So this is kind of a legal thing where we get into the state ombudsman's obligations that you can only require half-width improvements on, you know, when the property line on a road splits 2 developments. So we've added some clarification there. We added some clarification to low-impact development, which is triggered by the ongoing MS4 stormwater regulation. Added some nuances about detention, retention basin requirements, again, to comply with ever-changing stormwater
The things
regulations.
you're talking about, are they on another slide?
They're on the staff report.
No, I'm just saying,
Okay, yeah, so I'm reading some of that, so,
sorry.
I just read the second bullet point.
Sorry, you were just talking and she was not caught up with you, that's all.
That's all right.
Okay.
Kind of reading the same thing, just in a different venue. Other thing is kind of technology. The old way of stopping water hammer basically was you'd put big concrete blocks every time a water line had a bend or a fitting a T, right? So as those, you can imagine the force on an 8 or 12-inch water line. Well, that's a pain in the butt when you're trying to get back in there for your utilities because you've got these huge concrete blocks. So technology now has restrained fittings, ways that you can connect pipe joints without that. And so we're kind of getting modern technology and we're moving away from these concrete thrust blocks and going to these restrained fittings, which make it easier to get into those intersections in the future without having these old-fashioned thrust blocks. So that's the third bullet point. Adding some standards for sampling stations. So some of the storm,
Next page.
some of the drinking water regulations require us to sample our water system continuously for safety and consumer, make sure it's safe to drink. So we're making sure that as opposed to having to retrofit that, when new subdivisions go in, we actually build in some of these sampling stations so that we can pull samples.
So we're just meeting state code?
Yeah, we used to have to go to someone's, we'd have, either an employee or a friend, and we'd say, hey, we're gonna come to your hose bib once a month and pull a sample, because we didn't have, and now we're actually building sampling stations that we don't have to bother. residents.
You never asked to use my garden hose.
There's a reason.
There's a
for
reason.
Set that one up. And then fixing native areas. We've had ongoing issues with developers disturbing and then recreating native areas, right? They don't want to make it a park. They want to keep it native, a la Mount
They're never
Saratoga.
gonna-
But we didn't have really good standards on how to do that. So those are just some of the big things. But really, this is one of the most significant overhauls we've done in a while, and hopefully it allows us to do our job better and allows us to get even better development, so.
Can I, well, yes, I can ask a question. It's a pretty extensive overhaul. Is there a reason why you couldn't bring it in more often?
I would have loved to. Couple reasons on this specific situation is we've been working on this for over, I was pushing the staff to get it done by Christmas. I was asking for this for my Christmas present, didn't get it. So a lot of it is just, there was so much outstanding. The other thing was, there has been just some staff transitions. So whether it's, transitions in.
I'm not being critical. My point is, if there is somewhat minor changes, but they're important, I would hope that you wouldn't hesitate just to bring them in, get them approved.
I agree. I would prefer not to do major overhauls every 3 years, do more minor ones, but, sometimes these get put on the back burner and then, we get busy and we come back and realize, man, we want all these things done, and so I'm just happy that we finally got over the finish line. But it's just like code. It's a never-ending
It's always cheap.
refinement.
Yep.
Any more questions for Jeremy?
No, I guess I do have a question that came up. I like that we're widening our road width. This goes back to the whole IADU requirement. Is there any way in neighborhoods that we can't control that we can create more guest parking, off-road guest parking?
That's a different conversation.
I mean, that's a,
If,
I know the state says we can't make them provide parking at the house, but
It's
can
not an
we?
engineering standard, that's a,
it's a legislative issue. If you'd like us to look at that, we can certainly look at that and bring that back as a code amendment, but we're somewhat limited in what we can do with IADUs. And one of the things that they're pushing towards is not requiring additional parking if there's adequate parking in the established driveways and parking area. And they get to include the count of garage space and other things. So I think it's tricky. We would need to be,
creative.
make sure we're compliant with that.
But this is one of those things you had talked about as far as, are the streets wide enough to accommodate that parking, that on-street parking? And now with a 32-foot asphalt width, per the fire code, that gives sufficient parking on both sides under the fire code without posting no parking signs and so forth. The one thing, Mark asked the question, I think it's really good. We should ask Jeremy this question. I wasn't here for the planning commission meeting, and I'm not sure that we said that in the packet. Usually the planners, so this has to be done like a land use ordinance, and the planners in the staff report will often, well, usually they should, list public comment that was given at the planning commission public hearing for your consideration. So Jeremy, was there any public comment at the public hearing at with the planning commission? That would be something that council should
I
consider.
apologize. It was Dan who was at the planning commission. I wasn't there, so I'd have to refer to the minutes
My guess is there wasn't any.
Nikki's saying she didn't think there was public comment.
So it's not engineering standard, that's fine. It's something I want to continue.
Austin was there. He-
That's a shocker.
Okay, okay, good.
I'm sure developers will let you know their opinion after they start having the comments and the standards imposed.
This be sort of forward them to the state
Right, we're-
legislator who approved the widening of the road.
We will absolutely do that. If you don't like it, then, take it up with the legislature. One thing we're working with DRC is establishing a date and a standard as to certainly certain people up to a point are grandfathered in, right? If someone's already in application to a point, we're not gonna make them redo their whole thing. So we're working with legal department to make sure staff is aware of who is grandfathered under the existing and who will have to now follow the new one.
I think we should follow the same code as an active application. If they don't have an active application, we should hold them to this new standard.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Well, I'm going to turn off Jeremy's mic, so we can get this thing
Ready for a motion?
Yes, I
I move to approve the updates to the engineering standard technical specifications and drawings, manual ordinance 24-23 dated today with, there are no staff findings.
Second.
We have a first by Councilman McComber, a second by Councilman Carn. Any other discussion? Wilden, aye. Barton?
Aye.
Carn?
Aye.
McComber?
Aye.
Wadman?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Do we have need to go in closed session?
You adjourn it.
All right, meeting is adjourned. How do I turn this off?
I switched the parking,
Stop stream.
but sometimes they lock those gates.
We're just gonna go to the regular parking lot.
No, we're gonna go to that, the soccer